On the day of the wedding, I was humiliated by my husband's ex-girlfriend in public. She, the wicked man, complained first. I said that I wouldn't let her attend the wedding. The husband said, "It's all women's and it's not a loss. Forget it." Arrived at the lobby, I went forward and removed the shame cloth from the heart of the scheming woman. We are all acquaintances. What does it matter if we see it? Point 1. It happened too suddenly. I was stripped of my wedding dress by a sudden girl. It's just a matter of a second or two. If I hadn't reacted quickly, I would have covered my heart in time. I'm afraid it's going to be exposed. At that moment my mind went blank. My whole body broke out in a cold sweat. Embarrassment, humiliation, and bewilderment suddenly surrounded me. The bridesmaids were stunned. Fortunately, they had just walked out of the dressing room and had not arrived at the lobby. However, the relatives and friends sitting in the front row still saw the whole process. Suddenly, countless eyes focused on me. I quickly squatted down and looked around nervously and fearfully. I only feel short of breath so that I can hear the heartbeat. In the end, it was my best friend Feng Qiong who was the first to react to Mei protected and roared forward. "Pull the curtain quickly, and the photographers outside, turn off the camera quickly." Then, the bridesmaids were stunned for a while before they took me back to the dressing room. Everyone looked at each other and perhaps felt that it happened too suddenly. My husband Suka squeezed in a hurry. "Why did you come out and turn back again? The photographers outside are all ready." He didn't notice the helplessness and panic on my face at all. Feng Qiong squatted down to help. I tidied up my wedding dress and stared at a girl next to me with a playful smile. "Suku, it's a good job she did. She actually took off her snowy wedding dress." I was so shocked that I hadn't recovered. Following the direction guided by Feng Qiong, "There is a beautiful fair-skinned girl. Where do you seem to have seen it?" A slightly aggrieved and complaining voice came my ear. "Brother Suku, I accidentally stepped on my sister-in-law's wedding dress just now. I really deserve death. But I really didn't mean it. If my sister-in-law hadn't seen me and wanted to kick me out, I wouldn't be so eager. If I follow her to explain, I won't accidentally step on her wedding dress. Anyway, it's my fault. You scold me." After saying that, he cried bitterly in front of everyone, looking pitiful. Suka looked at me with a pale face and looked around again. The bridesmaids were all my people, and everyone stared at the crying girl in anger. I thought Suku would come to comfort me first, but I looked at the shadow on the ground and saw that he walked towards the girl opposite. "Well, they are all women, and it's not a loss. Don't blame yourself. Why didn't you tell me when you came? You made a fuss." After saying that, he scratched the girl's nose with a spoiled face. The girl smiled and roared delicately, "Oh, it hurts." My heart went from fear to hope and then to cold. Feng Qiong couldn't stand it any longer. "Suku, are you deaf? That man bullied your wife maliciously, and you ran over to comfort her. Your brain is so funny." I slowly got up and tried my best to control my trembling lips. Look at the man and woman opposite. One is my husband who is about to marry, and the other is his ghost sister Suyu. She said she was a sister, but in fact she was her ex-girlfriend. There is a lover who does not become a family in the end, and those who have a heart want to keep this relationship. So a marriage recognition was arranged for this relationship. "Brother Suku, I swear I really didn't mean it. Suyu was secretly wronged in tea." Suka patted her on the shoulder and said that she absolutely believed that she had no intention. Then he turned to me with a smile on his face. "Swear, this is Suyu. You have seen it. She has been abroad for many years. When she heard that we were getting married, she rushed back to congratulate her. She blamed me for not having time to tell you." Suka took my waist and thought that his hand had touched Suyu's body just now. He unconsciously rejected it and leaned back slightly. "It's okay. There are all girls here, and Suyu didn't mean it." "Yes, sister-in-law, I have known brother Suku since I was a child. Just now I accidentally saw your graceful figure. Just as if I helped brother Suku enjoy my eyes first. Feng Qiong was so angry that he patted the table on the spot. "You made Schwer go away and you still have a face. Are you sick?" "Sister, I didn't mean it. Besides, brother Suka didn't blame me. You, an outsider, are quite generous." After saying that, he glanced at me intently. Besides, the bride didn't make a sound. Maybe she likes to show her arrogant posture in front of everyone. Ha ha ha. I was successfully angered by her rude words. Just as I was about to fight back, I was held down by Suku. "All right. Suyu, you're joking too much. Why don't you come and apologize to your future sister-in-law?" Suyu looked at Suku and pursed his lips very reluctantly. "Suku is a little shameless." Good, I was wrong." Suyu looked aggrieved. "If I hadn't seen brother Suka get married, I wouldn't have returned to China at this time, and I wouldn't have been treated when I came back." After saying that, he ran out angrily. The guests outside have been talking about it for a long time. Because of this farce, when we entered the scene, the master of ceremonies was constantly playing the round. "Today is my wedding and I don't want to make a fuss. That's his family. It's time for him to come forward." But Suka didn't seem to care about it at all. He just patted me on the back. Well, Suyu is also angry. Don't be angry. Besides, you and Fangchong are too fussy. They are both women and I'm not angry. What do you care about? Me. I opened my eyes wide and looked at Suku incredulously. Today's victim is me. Why did he erase the hurt for me? At this time, her mother-in-law Lu Qian rushed in a hurry. Oops. What's wrong with you? I just saw Suyu crying and running out of here. Did you say something to her? Suyu's mother and mother-in-law have been best friends for decades. She has always liked Suyu as her daughter-in-law. Unfortunately, it didn't go as she wished. I said, Xiaoxue, you made a lot of noise at home before you passed the door. You are quite capable. My mother-in-law looked at me with a dissatisfied face. Suka turned his head to the side at this time, as if he didn't hear his mother blaming me. I was so angry that my heart was on fire. Can this marriage still be made? 2. But the master of ceremonies outside began to urge again. My parents also called me several times to ask what had happened. Fang Qiong also advised me to make a long-term plan. So you may have deliberately spoiled my marriage. I nodded with my emotions. At this time, Suku came over with a smile and stretched out an arm. I pulled it over with an expressionless face. As soon as I walked out of the lobby, the scene was boiling, and the guests were cheering. Especially my parents. They saw me slowly approaching with tears in their eyes. Just when I adjusted my mentality and smiled. In the crowd, Suyu was holding his hands and looking straight at me, his eyes full of provocation. I was shocked and touched Suka's arm to remind him. Suyu just came back and said that in order to show I sincerely apologize, she presided over our wedding for free. Abroad, she is the gold medal winner of the excellent host competition. When Suku said the second half of the sentence, he looked proud and intoxicated. The wedding host already has it. Why do I want her to join in the fun? After Suku and I stood in the middle of the stage, the invited master of ceremonies just said a few words. Suyu strode forward and directly snatched the handkit in the master of ceremonies. Regardless of the embarrassment of the master of ceremonies and the suspicion of the guests on the scene, he turned on the microphone and began to talk endlessly. In addition to a polite word in the front, the interlude in the middle is all about her and Suku's past. Since the two of them have been in elementary school, how Suku has taken care of her when she grew up, and how she has become her guardian messenger in junior high school and senior high school. Even when she came on her first menstrual leave, Suka ran 3 streets for this reason and lost a shoe to help her buy sanitary supplies. She did not hesitate to say it. She likes to let Suka carry her to school. For so many years, as long as it rains, Suku has never let her go down. The two of them have often eaten and lived together since they were young. Sometimes they forget the time and sleep in the same bed. Suyu was moved to tears on the stage, as if he was reluctant, as if he was appealing or swearing some kind of sovereignty. The mother-in-law also cried a lot of tears under the stage. There is no doubt that Suyu successfully evoked their memories. I slowly looked at Suku beside me. His eyes were soft, his eyes were full of tears, and he fixed on Suyu's back with a spoiled face. My fist clenched unconsciously. I have never seen Suku look at me with such eyes. He and I met on a blind date through the introduction of the elders in the family. After chatting for more than half a year, we both feel good. Then we confirmed the relationship and began to talk about marriage. Suku has always been a warm man. He will pick me up and go to work on time every day. When it's time, he will order for me or take the initiative to accompany me to dinner. My good impression of him has always been due to his careful care for me. Unexpectedly, this is just the muscle memory he has been used to for many years. Until I went to his house to meet his parents for the first time. Only then did I know that his mother didn't seem to like me very much. From the dishes he entertained me and the way she looked at me, I could see that she didn't welcome me. Following the reason, Suku told me about Suyu, his sister. They once talked for a while because of the relationship between the two families. Later, because Suyu fell in love with the foreign teacher in the school, he ruthlessly abandoned Suku and followed the foreigner. Suyu's mother cried bitterly and kept emphasizing that Suyu was cheated away, begged Suku to wait for her no matter what, believing that she will come back to him one day when she wakes up. My mother-in-law also firmly believes that her future daughter-in-law can only be Suyu. However, after waiting for 2 years, Suyu received the news from abroad that he was married. The two families completely died, and Suku also began to get to know me on a blind date half a year later. However, why did Suyu suddenly return to China nowadays? Is it just to come back to our wedding? I looked ahead in silence, and my eyes began to be empty. I didn't know what the meaning of marriage was. But suddenly, the giant chandelier in the sky fell vertically. He hit Suyu, who was standing on the stage just at the critical moment. Suku let go of my hand and rushed to Suyu without hesitation, protecting her tightly under him. When the chandelier hit Suku's back, many lamps were everywhere, and I subconsciously wanted to pull Suku. But it was too late, and the glass lamp splashed open in an instant. Suku! I was forced to fall to the ground. After a while I opened my eyes and looked at Tsukeshi again. He got up and kept shaking Tsuyu in his arms. Fortunately, Tsuyu was well protected by him, but his foot was scratched a little. In his sight, Tsuku hugged Tsuyu anxiously and kept checking every inch of her skin, as if Tsuyu was his most precious thing. I'm cold all one. How ironic. He didn't look at all and left it to his wife who sweated for him behind him. 3. At this time the guests under the stage were in a panic. Suddenly, the ambulance and the alarm rang everywhere. My parents wanted to squeeze in to see me and waited anxiously. When I saw myself standing up, Datsuka glanced at me in a hurry and said, "It's okay." Then he kept Tsuyu's side without leaving. "Brother Tsuku, you hurt your head. Does it hurt?" Tsuyu curled up in his arms, and his pale face became paler. Tsuku was at a loss and comforted nervously. "Xiaoyu, don't worry. I'm fine. I'll accompany you to the hospital." Tsuku stopped his waist and picked up Tsuyu and was about to leave. And Tsuyu buried her face in his arms, and the happiness on her face made her cheeks crimson. I feel sick when I look at it. The ambulance stretcher was lifted up at this time. But Tsuku has been holding Tsuyu tightly and won't let go. Relatives on both sides gathered around and whispered. I couldn't bear to open my mouth to Tsuku. "Tsuku, hand over Tsuyu to the doctor and nurse. Do you remember what you are going to do today?" He seemed to stiffen, but the movement in his hand did not stop at all. "Xiaoxue, it's a matter of human life. Don't make trouble." "Cut, she just broke a little skin on her foot. On the other hand, my calf is still bleeding." I pointed to a relative and said, "I asked my cousin to see her off." But Tsuyu grabbed his sleeve and shook his head. Tsuku immediately got it and raised his head to refuse. "Xiaoxue, stop it. I'll take Xiaoyu to the hospital soon." Tsuyu finally stopped talking, but she looked at me with a little more ostentatious and provocation. I laughed. He smiled coldly. It was still uncomfortable, but at this moment, the mammary glands were unobstructed. "I'll be back after I'm with Xiaoyu." Before Tsuku hugged her and left, he still had the face to say this to me. "But at this moment I have made a decision. No, you don't have to come back. Yes, I won't serve you anymore. The trash man gave it to that green tea bitch. But I want to find out whether today's incident is an accident or a man-made thing." 4. Tsuku left the wedding scene with his childhood sweetheart in his arms in front of everyone. More and more relatives are coming around. The discussion is also getting more and more intense. Fangqiong was afraid that I couldn't stand it, so she stood beside me at the first time. After I gave her a reassuring look, "Ask your cousin to inform the woman's relatives and friends that the wedding is cancelled. But the banquet will be held so that everyone can eat and drink well. Long pain is better than short pain. Since I found scum on the wedding day, I don't need to be wronged anymore. Timely stop-loss is a must." At the wedding, I was humiliated by my husband's ex-girlfriend 39,103. Fortunately, my family is on my side. "Xiaoxue, whatever you want, we will support you." With their support and understanding, I feel more and more at ease. My parents are even more distressed about me. At the scene, he couldn't help but teach Tsuku a lesson. Tsuku's mother Luqian jumped out at this time and said sorry falsely. "Dear family, I'm so sorry. Xiaoyu is injured. The injured are the most. Please bear the burden." Fangqiong was so angry that he immediately retorted, "Oh, it turned out that it was just a little skin injury. If you didn't know it, you thought you were going to die. Such a big movement." Luqian still wanted to argue at this time, but was stopped by my parents. "Xiaoxue, don't be angry. There is a father to support you. No one wants to bully you." I couldn't hold back the grievances and injustice that I had endured for a long time, and my eyes turned red in an instant. No matter who has experienced this kind of thing, it is impossible to say that it is not uncomfortable. After half a child, relatives and friends ate almost when they left the table. Tsuku actually had the face to rush back with Tsuyu. When he got out of the car, he was still wearing the groom's clothes. It's just that the white suit jacket is stained with blood. The bow tie is also crooked and wrinkled all over. As soon as they met, Luqian rushed over to ask Tsuyu if he was all right. When Tsuku heard that the wedding had been cancelled, he rushed to me with anger and cut my head to question. "Ningxue, are you crazy? Why did you cancel the wedding?" He roared at me, and his face was full of impatience and irritability. Regardless of his own mistakes at all, he played a lot. I endured the pain in my calf, had no emotion and looked cold. "I'm sorry, you have nothing to do with me anymore. I think you are angry. Please stay away from me." Tsuku's expression froze. The main reason is that my parents and several relatives have isolated him. He didn't dare to make a second time, so you came with him. I was half dead when I just went to the hospital. Now he jumped up miraculously and sneered strangely. "Ningxue, you are so pretentious. Don't you consider Brother Tsuku's feelings at all? Don't you think that Brother Tsuku is good to me? You are not happy. Don't get me wrong. We grew up together. Brother Suku is nervous about me and everything. He just treats me as his sister. If my injury affects your wedding with Brother Suku, then I will be a sinner for thousands of years. Although I have never forgotten Brother Suku, but that's all in the past. Who doesn't have a past? You won't hold a grudge because of this, will you? Brother Suku has been praising you in front of me for being generous and reasonable. I didn't expect you to be such a scrupulous person. I laughed angrily while listening to it. Ruining the wedding that others have been looking forward to is also called little things. Do disgusting affairs in the name of brother and sister deep love. The name Green Tea Bitch is true to Suyu. Suku is still there unforgiving. He said that because I unilaterally cancelled the wedding, he was disreated in front of his relatives and friends. Ning Shui, you must give an explanation today. Explain? My anger suddenly came up. Turn around and take out a pack of bills and throw them forward. With the wind, it hit the faces of the dog men and women impartially. The planning fee of this wedding, the cost of the banquet, and the cost of the venue layout totaled 380,000 yuan. Please explain it well. 5. In the end, Suku was forcibly pulled away by his mother. The main reason is that I can't afford to lose that person. The guests witnessed Suku holding Suyu tightly like a toad all the way. So enthusiastic, everyone feels that they have a relationship. Suyu is even more miserable. Originally there was tape wrapped around the leg. It was surrounded and sprayed by the relatives of our family. He directly scolded her so that her face turned blue and purple, and she couldn't even raise her head. If she hadn't been a woman, my cousins would have done it long ago. Finally, he was sprayed with saliva all over his body and ran away in the guidance of the guests on the scene. She didn't forget to turn around and glare at me fiercely when she left. Obviously, she has a grudge in her heart. That night, she began to talk on her social media. I was also placed in several common groups that Sukla and I entered before. I stayed abroad for a good time. Brother Suku remembered me and wanted me to go back to China to attend his wedding. As a result, she kicked me out in front of everyone, saying that I was an outsider and was not qualified to attend Brother Suku's wedding. It was too bullying, woo-woo. I was kind to preside over their wedding. Unexpectedly, she played tricks and messed with the chandelier in the lobby. Is she trying to smash me to death? It's terrible. Brother Suku was injured in order to protect me. When he came back, he was directly cancelled the wedding indifferently. It's too glass-hearted. The heart and eyes are too small. All kinds of remarks to make self-deprecation, disguise themselves as poor and weak women. He also said that I unilaterally cancelled the wedding, and Suku actually had to bear the wedding expenses, which was unfair to him. They all think I'm too much. So you took the opportunity to talk again. She said that she used to be happy abroad that I in the family. My husband is very good to her. This time she returned to China to prepare for pregnancy here, but she didn't expect to be so slandered by me. Her foreign husband didn't want her and wanted a divorce. She blamed all the faults on me. Someone in the group soon accused me of being wrong. Even if Suyu does something wrong, we are all a family. Can't we understand each other? It has to be so noisy that it can't be ended. Since you unilaterally cancelled the wedding, you should bear the loss yourself. Why do you have to pay this expense? Oh my god, even if Xiaoyu makes a mistake, he can't be so cruel. What is he trying to do? Do you want to kill in silence? I saw a lot of noise in the group. Many people specially asked me to apologize to Suyu and Suku. This matter is over. I smiled. Another bill was sent, which is the original price. What I want Suku to bear is only 1/3 of the cost of the wedding, and I didn't let him pay for makeup and wedding dress styling. Did you give him face? There is also the latest progress of the fall of the chandelier investigated by the hotel. Man-made. Attached is a clear version of the hotel monitoring. The people who were still righteous and indignant just now fell silent in an instant. The sisters who shouted something that I should bear alone, I scoured her. I wish you a happy man who still counts money for him. And the stupid hat who falsely accused me of killing people's lives quietly withdrew from the group at this time. Other people in the group also began to turn their fingers to Suyu. She said that since she was married, she was still uneasy. I have to go to other people's wedding site to stir up other people's good things. And accuse her of being a snake and scorpion-hearted. But she actually messed with the chandelier. Who is she trying to kill? Fortunately, no one had an accident. Otherwise, wash your ass and go to jail. At this time, a group owner who claimed to be Sister Q's spirit suddenly broke out a shocking melon. Suyu, didn't you sneak back to China to escape from your ex-husband's domestic violence 2 years ago? Where did the husband come from? Yes, that's right, I've heard from your mother for a long time that you don't know the checkpoint abroad, show mercy everywhere, and have been found by foreigners several times and beaten. Why now you come back to China to harm yourself? You're still thinking about marrying into the Su family, are you? Later, Sister Q's spirit privately added me, saying that Suyu had many miscarriages abroad, and his body had problems for a long time, and he could not get pregnant. If Lu Qian knew that she was like a loser and still wanted to marry into the Su family, she would not be angry to death. She must have to hold her grandson. Sister Q's spirit has long broken with Suyu, just because she was confused between her and her boyfriend as soon as she returned to China, causing her to break up with her boyfriend, who had been with for 8 years. She asked me to be careful of Suyu. This woman is not simple. She is the most good at pretending to be pitiful in front of men. I heard that her foreign husband found out that she had an improper relationship with several men, so she actually let these men kill her husband. Fortunately, the foreigner only broke one leg and threatened to kill Suyu, so she had no choice but to go back to China for refuge. So explosive. Suyu didn't say a mouth all the way. I don't know whether it was a loss or difficult to refute. Suku and the group finally came forward. Xiaoyu's personality is too weak, and she has also been deceived. Please don't chew your tongue in the group. Then he turned around and asked me to withdraw all the things sent in the group. I don't believe this is what Xiaoyu did. What's wrong with me? I know you are jealous of Xiaoyu and make you unhappy, but I know you still have me in your heart, so stop it. Let's have a good talk. I looked at the sunny day outside in shock. It's not dark yet. Why did this guy talk in his sleep? Suka doesn't think I can't live without him, does he? I was disgusted. I sent him the results of the police officer's on-site investigation. If you are so worried, why don't you help her find a good lawyer? Suka didn't say anything. I sneered and turned my head to AI Suyu in the large group. Reiterate. Get ready to respond to the lawsuit. I didn't care about the situation in the group and focused on the follow-up of the wedding. After a while, when he picked up his mobile phone again, Suyu left the group. Oh, I haven't been kicked yet and I can't stand it yet. 6. 2 days later, the police officer first asked me whether to appeal about this matter. It would be best if we could reconcile privately. After all, no one was hurt. I said, if the party admits his mistake and has a good attitude, I will consider reconciliation. But until today, there is no movement on Suyu's side. I guess I thought I was just scaring her, but I came to be serious. After handing over everything to a professional lawyer, I went to Bali for a vacation. Sunshine, beach, waves, cacti fly up pleasantly. While he was having a good time, Suka called. The tone of questioning is in the words. Ning Shui, you are too cruel. Unexpectedly, Xiaoyu was really sued in court. Even if the chandelier was made by her hands and feet, she didn't hurt anyone. Is it so serious to be so serious? You mean it's not a crime if a thief doesn't steal something? I turned on the microphone and made him speechless. He immediately hung up the phone and blocked all his contact information. After I came back comfortably, Su found me with an angry face. Ning Shui, you bitch, how dare you sue me? Suku was not here and she became tough in an instant. When he came up he was cursing. So I asked thoughtfully, have you hired a lawyer? What nonsense lawyer are you hiring? I didn't break the law. Suyu's expression was arrogant and he looked disdainful. You don't like me and Suku. You want to do me. Do you know how many roads I have abroad? You'd better withdraw the complaint immediately, or don't blame me for being cruel. Is she threatening me? Seeing that I didn't open my mouth for a long time, Suyu thought I was afraid and smiled even more proudly. In the end she blew herself up. It turned out that Suyu was looking for someone to tinker with the chandelier, and originally wanted to do anything to me. It's just that she never expected that she miscalculated the position of the chandelier with excitement. I stood under the lamp first. Stealing a chicken can't eat a handful of rice. You have a big fate and didn't die, but it's still worth it to let you see that brother Suka's heart is with me. Ning Shui, if Suka knew that your heart was so vicious, guess if he would still be with you? Me? Eh? What are you doing with that ugly second-hand man? The next second, Suyu suddenly raised his palm and slapped himself in the face fiercely. The force was so great that half of his face was covered with fingerprints. I was surprised when I heard footsteps in my ear. Ning Shui, what have you done to Xiaoyu? Suku trotted over and protected Suyu behind him, with unconcealed worry on his face. The eyes moved to the redness and swelling of her cheeks, and a trace of heartache crossed. Brother Suku, I'm fine. As long as I can calm down Sister Ning Shui, I'm willing to be slapped. In front of Suku, Suyu disguised himself as a weak little green tea. Tears fell down, melting Suka's heart. It's true. Suka's eyes were as cold as frost. Ning Shui, you have the ability to come to me. Xiaoyu didn't mean it. She had already explained the reason to me, but she was confused for a moment. She wanted to test my love for her and didn't want to hurt you. Why did you want to embarrass her? Me. It's so disgusting. I ignored Suku, who was furious. Looking straight at Suyu, he smiled and signaled her to look up. How about we check the surveillance together? You can't blame good people by mistake. When he saw the camera, Suyu's swollen face froze directly. I was calm and shook my head. The domestic security is very safe, and she advises her not to let those foreign sins take risks for her. After all, there is nowhere to hide under the sky net. Such a price frame up, I'm afraid it's not a brain. Suyu was shaky and his face was full of panic. She doesn't want Suku to see her ugly side. However, Suku still didn't notice anything and shouted for me to give Suyu an explanation. Ning Shui, now you have beaten and scolded. It's time to calm down your anger. It's just that I didn't expect you to be so vicious and shameless. I really misjudged you in the past. Suku looked at my eyes full of disappointment and asked me to bow to Suyu. You apologize now, it's too late to withdraw the complaint and that's all. I took out my mobile phone to call a certain department to retrieve the monitoring records. As a result, before it was dialed, Suyu took the opportunity to faint in Suku's arms. It was difficult for Suku to firmly believe in green tea. In an instant, he panicked and rushed out with Suyu in his arms. What a natural match, I'm laughing. That I pushed my suitcase home. I heard that Dad added another antique which is very valuable. You have to wait for me to come back and watch it together. As soon as I arrived at the door of the house, the troubler came first. Suku and Suyu appeared in front of me again. They threw away a pile of documents and asked me for compensation. You took the initiative to cancel the wedding, and the compensation you should have must be less. Suyu raised his eyebrows and smiled proudly. The amount they asked me to compensate was twice the total cost of the wedding. That is more than 1.8 million. 7. Regarding the annul of marriage, my parents talked to their family on behalf of me. When preparing to get married, Suku tactfully expressed to me, I just bought a new house and I'm on tight. I don't pay much attention to it either. My parents don't care about the so-called dowry, saying that as long as Suku is nice to me. As for the gifts given by the Su family, they were returned on the day of the cancellation of the wedding. Each account has been meticulously checked. It's just the money to prepare for the wedding, which was originally said to be paid by the man. Now that there is a break, I take the initiative to bear 2/3 and let Suku pay 1/3, which is already a small part. Now he still has the face to compensate me. I want to see what are the conditions for his compensation. Open the so-called arrears document. Oh my god, Suku actually prepared a small composition of tens of thousands of words. It describes in detail the indelible harm caused to him by my unauthorized withdrawal of marriage, including but not limited to making him too sad, leading to insomnia and anxiety. I can't work normally because of sadness, including missed work, etc. This is not the most outrageous. Suku, did you pay me a down payment of 500,000 yuan for buying a house? You must be crazy about money. When I saw this article, I laughed angrily. How can you be so shameless? As a result, Suke Zensen said, Ning Shui, if it hadn't been for marrying you, I wouldn't have spent this wasted money to buy a new house. Now I inexplicably have a mortgage of more than 1 million yuan. Isn't it all yours? But the so-called new house was bought by Suke's mother without telling me. What do you mean about premarital property? I didn't tell me that I had bought a house until it was about to be renovated. You want to coax me to take out the full money to decorate the wedding room. The abacus beads are about to collapse on my forehead. Fortunately, I didn't agree. I refused on the grounds that I could live in my house first after marriage. Now, he wants to make another money with this. When my parents heard it, they were furious in an instant. I want to drive them away. So you not only did not walk, but also took a few steps forward. Look at my father's newly promoted antique vase in the middle of the living room. Don't want to pay it back, want to rely on the debt? Do you think brother Suku is easy to bully? After saying that, she deliberately rubbed the antique vase heavily with her body. The vase was so large that it swayed a few times and fell to the ground with a bang. It's broken. My father watched the beloved thing that had just arrived being broken like this. I was so angry that my whole body trembled. You don't want to leave today. The police officer is here. After asking the reason, Suku and Suyu were directly tortured. They still didn't know how to repent and shouted in front of the police officer. It's just a broken vase, at most dozens of yuan. Do you need to catch me with a long flag? The so-called people's police officers are so idle all day and night. What kind of private services do they specialize in? How much do they give you for door-to-door service? At this time, the police officer called an appraiser who came with me. Sir, this is a blue flower from the Ming dynasty, which is worth more than 8 million now. By the way, this is still yesterday's price. I heard that it has risen again today, nearly 10 million. After hearing this, Suku and Suyu opened their mouths into an O shape and couldn't speak anymore. Dad held the fragments on the ground in his hand, and could only bear the pain of asking professionals to repair them. At this time, Suyu was so scared that his face turned pale. I'm afraid she has never seen such an expensive vase in her life. She hid behind Suku and began Choo-Choo's pitiful performance again. With tears in his eyes, he bit his lip. All men love to eat this set. Brother Suku, it's all my fault. I'm rash and reckless. From childhood to adult, I will only cause you trouble. I'm so useless. Suku is honest now. Kneel down and beg my father for mercy. Dad, you have a lot.
Forgive, siger you.
She is just ignorant. I didn't expect this vase to be so valuable, so you. Who is your father? Don't identify your relatives here. My father doesn't accept reconciliation at all. Anyway, I have called the police. I can deal with this matter as I want. I will never give in. My father was so angry that he went upstairs. Suku turned to beg me again, hoping that I could speak for him. I'm indifferent. You're not going to help her pay back the money, are you? Suku was stunned and sat on the ground. A total of 10 million. I want to see how he repays it. 8. In the next few days, a few days of peace passed. But not long after she was born, Suka's mother Lu Qian came to her door. She came to beg for let. Xiaoxue, although we can't be mother-in-law and daughter-in-law in my heart, I have long regarded you as a daughter. Xiaoyu has been like my daughter since she was a child. Although she did something wrong, she was also unintentional. She just loves Suka too much that she did so many stupid things. You are older than her, so just treat her sister to forgive her sister and spare her this time. I'm going. I'm not close to your family, so I want us to give up millions of compensation. Do I have a lot of money? If I don't give any face, Lu Qian won't pretend. Directly put it bluntly, there is no money at home. Do you want to lose money? There is one that needs to die. That's not as light as she said. Before leaving that day, the police officer asked Suyu to sign and press his handprint. She was so scared that she cried and kept dragging on to sign. In the end, Suku felt sorry for her and took everything. Brother Suku, you are still the best for me. I will never leave you again. After saying that, he rushed into his arms in front of us. I went straight upstairs disgustingly, and my eyes were not clean. 7 days later, Suku has not dealt with the compensation. The lawyer applied to the court for enforcement. The house under Suka's name and the house they live in now were auctioned together. The total amount of money is just enough to compensate for antique vases and weddings. The incident of destroying the chandelier in the hotel has not been withdrawn, but the police officer still took Suyu away. Because there were no casualties, she was charged with intentional destruction of property and sentenced to 6 months of detention. The amount was not much, and Suku sold the car to her on bail. True love is invincible. Suku took his mother back to the shabby house in his hometown. The job is gone, but Suyu didn't want to go back to suffer with him at this time. I want to hide back to my mother's house. Unexpectedly, the mother's family had already known the absurd things she had done to her abroad. Kick her out of the house. Suyu didn't have the help of his family and Suku, and contacted the former missers again. I hang with them in various entertainment venues every day, and I drink and get drunk today. This matter finally reached Suka's ears. He returned to the city from the countryside on purpose. I saw Suyu dressed naked and showing his back. At the door of the wine bar, he was flirting with all kinds of ghosts. How did you become like this? Come back with me. Suyu shook off his hand and said, I won't go back. You have nothing now. How can I have a good life with you? After hearing this, Suka's eyes suddenly blushed. He gave everything for Suyu. Now he looks like a homeless bear, but she actually dislikes herself. Thinking of the days when I didn't have a full stomach during this period. The bitterness of being laughed at in the village. He raised his angry fist and hit Suyu's head heavily. Suku was detained. The crime of intentional injury. And Suyu was beaten into a serious vegetative, lying in the hospital bed and no one cared about him.